well. Well, we'll just keep. Uh, I need a clicker. So we have a parallel. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will man give in exchange for his soul? Luke chapter 9, verse 25 reads, For what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and is himself destroyed or lost? People in the world don't really understand the value of the soul. If they did, then a lot of them would change. A lot of them would be different. But there's still hope. There's still hope out in the world. There's still hope for those who are lost. And indeed, what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Satan thinks that a man will give anything for his life, including his faith. Job 2:4 reads, So Satan answered the Lord and said, Skin for skin. Yes, all that a man has, he will give for his life. And that's true. Some will give all for this temporal world we have. And can you imagine the things that people give up and the things they strive for? And when you really look at the situation of gaining those assets, of trying to gain the world, you're never going to win. You're always going to be dissatisfied trying to gain the whole world. It just popped in my mind about a talented singer who used to walk around to go shopping. He would just touch items. I'm not going to say his name. I said it once for a while ago. I don't know what's popping in my brain, but he wasn't satisfied. So when he went shopping, he just walked around and touched that item, and then his guys or whatever would go purchase it for him. With all these big mansions, got to have bigger and bigger, bigger, bigger. Not satisfied. So the only way to be satisfied is to be in God. But Satan is going to try to get you to believe that all is well. And therefore, valuing our soul should be above those things. It should be, valuing our soul should even be above family. Valuing our soul should be above friends, okay? In our own life, what we and we know life is very short in this world, but the consistency of the soul versus the temporal body, and we know the soul is eternal for those who may not know who are watching. Therefore, we do not lose heart, even though our outward man, this body, is perishing, yet the inward man, our spirit, is being renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory, while we do not look at the things which are seen, the things of the world, but the things that which are not seen. For the things that which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Again, God has it right. God has it right. Our life is even temporary. In James, he says, whereas you do not know what will happen tomorrow. I have a lot of people say, well, I'm going to go do this tomorrow. I'm going to go do this. And I've gotten in the habit of say, well, I'm planning on doing this, but things might change. And a lot of times things do change in our life. We have plans for the next day. Even tragedies happen, and it really makes us think about how important the soul is for the hereafter. For what is your life? It's even a vapor that appears for a little time and then it vanishes away. So which of these should we give attention to? The one that lasts forever, or the one that lasts for eternity? I submit to you tonight, we need to focus on those things and keep focused, and we need to share these things with our friends in the world. So notice which one Jesus prefers that we give up. And we have to make a choice. God always leaves us with a choice. If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you, for it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast in hell. So if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you, for it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. What's going to cause you to sin? Get that out of your life. Basically. If this hand is running amok in a context, cut it off. In a spiritual context, don't go home and cut your hand off. Have disclaimers to that. But in the spiritual context, if this hand is causing you to do evil, don't use that hand anymore. Put it Ecclesiastes here teaches us concerning the contrast between the physical and the spiritual. Then the dust will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. So there is an eternity, and there is a judgment. But we notice that one is more valuable in death. And so our Christian attitude of rejoicing in the midst of all these persecutions and reflecting on the value of our soul, of that over our own body. Matthew chapter 5, verse 10 through 12 reads, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they revile and persecute you, and say all kind of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you." You know, a lot of times when we get persecuted, we just want to stop and give up. We just want to quit. Things happen in our life, and we're ashamed of it. Quit. You know, we need to keep on pushing through. We need to keep on being righteous. Okay? Some persecutions and a lot nowadays are coming because people are righteous. People don't like that. Just the opposite. You know, beware of those who love evil, you know, or who see evil as good and good evil. But you know, times are here. 2 Corinthians 12:11 through 12 reads as this: "I have become a fool in boasting. You have compelled me. For I ought to have been commended by you, for in nothing was I behind the most eminent apostles, though I am nothing. Truly the signs of an apostle were accomplished among you with all perseverance and signs and wonders and mighty deeds." But the soul is unique. Man is made, we know, in the image of God by the very breath of God himself. Even we read that in Genesis chapter 1. "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle." And he continues saying here, "Over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." But God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. Even in chapter 2, verse 7. "And the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being." Life begins. Where will you be in eternity? God recognizes the soul also, the time of conception. He says here in Psalm 139:14 through 16, "I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance, being yet unformed, and in your book they all were written, days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5 reads this: Before I formed you in the womb, I knew. Before you were born, I sanctified you or set you apart. I ordained you a prophet to the nations. What a great job. Paul made it very clear about the value of the soul, as we read in Acts chapter 20, verse 26 and 27 reads as this: Therefore I testify to you this day that I am innocent of the blood of all men, for I have not shunned to declare to you the whole counsel of God. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11 reads as this: He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also he has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from soul is the greatest treasure. Soul is the greatest treasure, God. Because what about the cost of the soul? What about the cost of the soul proves its worth? We know that sin separates us from God, Isaiah 59:2. And what is it made possible for man's soul to be brought back from the dominion of sin? What is it that made it possible for us to be brought back from the dominion of sin? Well, God tells us what it is. God says in Romans chapter 5, For when we were still without strength, in due time, Christ died for the ungodly. And that's still true today. For scarcely for a righteous man will one die, yet perhaps for a good man someone would even dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love towards us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Matthew chapter 8. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. Mark chapter 10, verse 45 reads, For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. 1 Timothy, For there is one God, and one mediator between God and men, man Christ Jesus, gave himself a ransom for all, be testified in due time. Even Peter tells us, 1 Peter, knowing that you were not redeemed with corruptible things, like silver or gold, from your aimless conduct received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot. He indeed was foreordained above the foundation of the world, but was manifest or made known in these last times. God places a lot of value to great lengths so your soul would be saved for all eternity. And he's still going to great lengths. You know, God could end this whole show right now. His son could come back. Everyone would be judged in the state that they're in right now. So it's very important that we get our minds right, we get our soul right. And if you're watching tonight, you're not a Christian, it's very important that you obey the gospel of Christ. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? What will you give for the salvation of your soul? A lot of people give things up or give their soul up for things in the world. Let's not do that. So he has given us life. All right? He has given us life for you. So hopefully you would do the same. God's greatest treasure. So his treasure, though, is not for the taking. So if you're not a Christian tonight watching tonight, then please get with us. We'll let you know what God thinks about that, and let you know what it means to become a Christian, what it takes to become a Christian. It's pretty simple, but it instructs you what God's needs. He's not asking for a lot. Things that he blesses us with, very abundant compared to what we have to do. So Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life. So again, choice, don't we? We could save our life or not. We don't have to go to hell, do we? Right? For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Giving up the worldly things, losing those things, all right? Losing that life, we will find the righteous life. Losing the unrighteous life, find it. So God is there for us. And so, again, there may be some watching who are not Christians. If you need help understanding that, then also please watch this morning's lesson. That'll help you immensely on that and what baptism is talking. As well as those we talked about this morning who may need prayers of the congregation. Let's keep them in mind. Let's also keep in mind the congregation. If there's a need this evening, please let us know if you're watching. Understand. Final song.